it's Shara. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I wanted to share something with you guys, a recipe actually from my childhood. Stacy over at Let's Cook Y'all, who describes herself as being from the Deep South. Now I'm from North Carolina, and for those of you that are familiar with Southern United States, North Carolina is in the South, but it is not considered to be the Deep South. It's kind of funny because the United States has such a large landmass coverage that we're pretty geographically divided as far as accents and things. And North Carolina is kind of moderate southern area for the most part. So it's kind of always fascinating to me to hear how many different accents there are in the South. And there are a lot of people in my area that use the word y'all, but it's not one that I use a lot. So it's always kind of cute to me to say the words, let's cook y'all. So my kids kind of laugh at me when they hear me say y'all. I usually say you guys, and then my daughter says, Mom, you say you guys all the time in your videos. So I don't know what I'm supposed to call you guys. So anyway, Let's Cook Y'all. Stacy over at Let's Cook Y'all did her menu the other day, and she asked where we got most of our recipes from. Now, I'm not a keep expensive fancy things around, but I am a sentimental person, and I have this little cookbook that my sister made for me. It's a photo album, and she put handwritten recipe cards in it of our childhood recipes. It's really special to me because it has her family recipes, and they're also in her handwriting. And today I want to share with you guys something that in my family is known as dirty page brownies. Now the reason we call them that is because this is the recipe that my mom made the whole time we were growing up, and all of us children learned how to make these brownies. And this cookbook, my mom still has it, has all these children's fingerprints in cocoa powder that will not come off, and it is the dirty page. And we always called them the dirty page brownies when we asked Mom to make them. So my family refers to them as dirty page brownies, which, you know, people have a tendency to do. We're very creative with our naming. You know, we name icons, things like the White House. It's not super creative, but that's what it's known as. Oven preheating. So this time I will remember to tell you we are going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to switch you around and show you this recipe, but I do want to tell you a couple of things about it. It was, one, a very versatile recipe. You can use 3 different kinds of fat in it. You can use butter, you can use a liquid oil, or you can use shortening. Now I choose which I'm going to use based on how I'm going to serve these. If I'm traveling with these, I use shortening. If I am going to make these, slice them into squares, wrap them and freeze them, which I'll tell you about a little later, I will use oil. If I'm serving them and I want them in small squares and kind of rich, I will use butter. I'll also use butter if I happen to have a lot of it and it's, you know, been a really good sale, and that's my least expensive option. But this is a very versatile pantry type recipe. And I'm going to flip you around, show you how to make these. I'm not making them gluten-free today. I don't need the sugar. So I'm just making a regular recipe using all-purpose flour, and I'm making these for my daughter. Recipe does double, triple, quadruple well. And I made these all the time when my children were growing up. I would make a large 4-batch, slice them and freeze them. So let's get started. Oven's preheated, so we're ahead of the game. Let's start with our 8-inch glass baking pan, which we're going to spray with some cooking spray and set aside. The recipe will be down below, so don't worry about that. In a small bowl, we are going to mix our flour. This is all-purpose flour. We need 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour. That's 1/3, 2/3. We need 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, baking cocoa. You can use, any brand you like. I actually like the brand from Aldi, but it's, whatever brand you like, whatever you buy. So 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. And 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. I just buy the Argo brand from Sam's Club. I always try to make sure there are no lumps in my baking powder. And I forgot to get a whisk, but just a second. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Let me move all that out of your line of vision there. Let me grab a whisk. So we're just going to whisk this together. Just kind of get everything incorporated. This doesn't take long at all. If you have any major lumps, kind of beat them out, but if you've just got, a couple of tiny lumps, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Okay, set that aside. And I'm going to move some things because my island is just not that big and I don't want everything blocking our line of vision here. Now, in our large bowl, we need 1 cup of sugar. And I always keep a 1/2 cup measuring cup right in my sugar canister. Can you guys hear my cat? I think he thinks I'm talking to him, so he's kind of responding. And now they are chasing each other. So 1 cup of sugar. 2 eggs. 1/2 cup. This time I am using shortening, but as I said, you can choose whatever fat you like. It works equally well. Even when I use a liquid oil, I just use 1/2 cup, use a liquid measuring cup and use 1/2 cup. I'm using the Spectrum, I'm hoping you can see that without too much of a glare, non-hydrogenated organic all vegetable shortening. This is truly a very versatile recipe. When my children were little, as I was saying earlier, I used to make these, cut them into squares. When they cooled, I would wrap them individually and freeze large gallon-sized bags of them. We were a homeschooling family, and we would pull these out in the afternoons to go with afternoon tea for a snack. And they always worked really well for that. I would sometimes serve them with ice cream or with Cool Whip or sometimes fruit or just to grab and go. They were perfect for tossing in a lunchbox to take when we were on the road. So they're just a good versatile brownie. Their texture varies slightly depending upon the fat you use, but they're good in each variety. What I like about them is they are frugal in the sense that you can use the supplies you have on hand. You use the fat that your family prefers. You use the one that is the best price for your area, kind of thing. And you control the ingredients. I've made these back when I would grind my own grains. I've made these with whole wheat flour. I've made these, sorry, I'm gonna lay this down over here. I've made these with gluten-free flours. I've made these with white pastry flours. Just, you know, they're just really, it's versatile. Just kind of play with it. If you make them with gluten-free, I usually have to add a couple of teaspoons to a tablespoon or so of water because gluten-free flours tend to need a little bit more liquid, but that's basically the only change I make. I also need to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla to this. I am going to measure just because, you know, trying to do this properly rather than wing it, but if you're okay winging it, just dump some vanilla in. We're going to take a mixer and cream all this together. Okay, can you see that? That's just just want all that cream together good. Got my wooden spoon, which I seem to always forget something to bring over. Sorry about the clang. I just don't want to waste any of the batter. Should never waste brownies batter. And now all we do is mix our dry ingredients in our wet. I'm just going to stir these together good. And I did put on an apron because I tend to be messy making these. So growing up, guys, did your family, I don't remember us using a lot of mixes for things. Mom mostly made things from scratch, but I don't know, you know, if it was just a time period thing and there just weren't a lot of mixes, if it was the area I grew up in, or, you know, or what. But I didn't use a lot of mixes when my children were growing up either, but I was home with them full time. And so, you know, I don't know if that, you know, I just don't know. I don't know if everybody's childhood was like that or not. But anyway, these were our family's favorite, and they're still, you know, my children's favorite. They were. So, bang. Now we're just going to scrape these into our greased pan. And I don't know if I can do it at an angle where you can completely see what I'm going to do or not, but I don't want to spew it all over the counter either, so I'm going to have to do it where I can see. A double batch, if you'll just double the recipe, makes a 9 by 13 pan perfectly, which is what I almost always made when my kids were growing up. But there's just 2 of us here. My husband will be home back midweek, so he and my daughter will eat these. And spread them out in your pan. And I'm just going to rake the rest of the batter off of the spatula and kind of smooth the top, you know, reasonably well. It's not going to be perfect. Let me wash my hands, guys. I can lose a dish towel faster than I don't know what. Okay, so this is our batter. They are going to, there we go. They are going to go in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. I'll show you when they come out of the oven, how they look when they first come out. And then a little later when they cool, I'll show you what they look like when they're cooled. And this is our easy, dirty page cocoa brownies recipe. I'd love it if you guys get a chance to try them. Let me know what you think of them. And also, just so you'll know, for general purposes, this is an easy recipe to use to make mixes to keep in your pantry. I put together all my dry ingredients in a Ziploc bag, and on the outside I put down that I need my liquid, not liquids, guys, sorry. Actually, I do. I put down that I need oil, eggs, and vanilla. So that's all I have to add. And especially if we're traveling or, you know, going on vacation where I'm going to be cooking, I know I'll have those ingredients and I'll take brownie mixes with me. But it's perfect for that. I put everything in the bag, all my dry ingredients, and then I just put on the outside that I need 2 eggs, a ½ cup of oil, and a teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm able to just pull together really quick brownies. They would also make great gifts if you're pulling together gifts to be able to do that with. So let's get these in the oven, let them bake, and I'll come back in a little bit. Ask yourself why that isn't a corner brownie? Well, I'll show you why that isn't the corner brownie. Because, keeping it real, folks, I dropped that dang thing. Just as big as day. Dropped it, went to pick it up, crumbled it. So here is your pretty picture of a brownie. Here is your reality. Will my daughter eat them both? Yes. And here is your inside shot of the texture of the brownies. Hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. Hope you get a chance to try it. And if you do, let me know. Thanks for watching. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. See you guys soon. Bye.